So on that deep end of things, this brings about a unity of the one flesh union that also brings about children by the nature of the divine creative activity that God has and how that functions in marriage. The realities of procreation and unity being together is that one doesn't relate just for the good of the relationship or for the good of how that feels at that moment. One relates for the sense of bringing about that relationship in a solidifying manner that will last, and then that it produces life. You can always tell when things are from God versus when they're not. Things will come into truth and to love. It'll be creative. When things move away from God, there will be lies and things snuffed out of existence, which is why, as Jesus says, when referring to evil and to Satan, he was a liar from the beginning and a murderer from the beginning. Life going forward in ways with which involve healthy self-control, healthy forms of truth, and healthy forms of love produce this type of relationship. And that reflects the nature of God and his creative divine activity. Now, when things go into another direction from that sense of complete self-giving and love, and they move into what is called lust, there's a process of those things that begin to break down and be compartmentalized. And this is why the church and the teachings of the Spirit always oppose artificial forms of contraception. One need not go out and have kids like we're somehow rabbits or something like that. That's not the case. We can use our human will and self-control as opposed to birth control, self-control being a fruit of the Spirit. And people, when they're saying that they want to control their own body, they can do that. Do that. It's called discipline and self-control. And that is what is favored. Artificial forms of contraception base oneself off of a lie that I do not do that, I wish to do X and Y, and then come back with an understanding that somehow I'm controlling myself by using some artificial means to disrupt the process of bringing about a healthy marriage and splitting the unitive aspects of marriage and the procreative aspects of marriage. When that process continues, the sense of breaking down, that is how people move more and more into getting what I want out of an act and out of somebody as opposed to what I don't want. Those things, when they move into raw lust, is once again a breakdown of the relationship to somebody. It's no longer I just see her as the mother of my children. She's somebody I have sex with, which is a different thing to think about if you're in a relationship. If somebody says, I want to have sex with you, that may have a certain meaning to you or certain meaning when you say that. But if somebody says, I would like to have a child with you, a baby with you, I would like you to be the father of my children, it is an infinitely more deep meaning and an infinitely more sustaining relationship that involves sex. It's not like it's devoid of it, of course not, because it moves to its proper ends and those things are not divided up. When people move more and more into just seeing somebody as something that happens between me and this person for sex, or I begin to move out of seeing this person as my wife and I see her more and more as a relationship with which is something that brings about a pleasurable phenomenon, that's when you move into lust. These things break down. It's no longer just her. It's what she can do for me. It's not just her and the completeness of her. It's her body. And then it's certain body parts. And it's certain things that are pleasurable of what I can do with those body parts. Those things begin to break down more and more and more, which is why in forms of pornography, as St. John Paul II described, it's not that pornography shows too much. It shows too little. There is too little shown about the people that are here in these differing acts. There's more to this woman or more to that person with which is there than just their sexual functionality. There are so much more. In fact, it can grow and be created into other things as they give life to other people. And this process of breaking down, of going from what builds up the completeness of a person and his integrated senses of things, as God intends for different matters, and God, who is the only concretized entity, in reality, everything is some way or another abstracted until everything comes together. This process of breaking down is a Greek word called diaboline, which is the root word of diabolical, that which breaks down, or the same root word as devil. Instead of everything being put together, I can just destroy everything down to nothing, to just its piecemeal, nothing. I mean, in the end, I have atoms in my body. In the end, the cloths on this altar have atoms in them as well. But when you put things together, the value of these different things change because it all becomes whole, which is the same root word as holy, when things are all put together. When it's all just broken down into nothing, that's when it moves to evil. That's what diaboline means. And that's why those different things cause mass amounts of breakdown.